wanted to go to Hollywood and all that, my mom's like, you'd get eaten alive in Hollywood, which I would have. I could have gotten an agent. I could have done all that, but I didn't have the money for it. And it's not a cop-out. I sincerely meant it. I told God, okay, I need an agent, and I guess you're going to have to be my agent. So just whatever opportunities you want to come along, put them in my path. Whatever you don't, let it fall away. And that's how we'll do this. So as far as material goes, on the acting side of it, I don't like to curse on stage. I can do the baby cursing. Like, I consider baby cursing the S word. I don't know if you want me to say it here, but just the little stuff, the little three. I don't do the GD word. I don't say the Lord's name in vain. I don't even like to say for God's sake. I don't like any of that. So that's just a personal preference. And sometimes they'll let me adapt it. Or if it's a part that has that, I just won't try out for it. It's never been... Acting has always been something I've wanted to do, but I won't die if I don't get to do it. So for me, my dream role would be Winifred in Once Upon a Mattress. I am getting to the age where I probably can't do that, and that's okay. It's a dream, but that doesn't mean that I'm going to my life is ruined if that doesn't happen. I never thought that I would play Annie Sullivan. I thought, I'm not that good. I'm not that blah, blah, blah. But there's also this quote that goes, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And once I get cast in something, I have to go, all right, this train is leaving the station and I can't get off now. So I do whatever I can to make it the best possible. But how do I navigate it? Just setting boundaries. I don't mind kissing on stage. That's okay with me, as long as the other actor and I are, we have an understanding and we understand this is not real. This is all... We make it more we make it more like a dance, like choreography, than actual passion. So that's okay. That's okay. So that is acting. As far as directing, I've not really ever directed anything that goes against necessarily what I don't believe, because we do a lot of family friendly stuff. We try to choose that just because that's what our audience wants to see. As far as writing, I like to figure out, what message would I like to tell my audience? Now, how can I not tell them that, but still tell them? So I don't want it to be preachy. I want to say, all right, so in the Hepburn Girls, for example, that's the name of the movie I wrote. I wanted to make a comment about Christians who typically are bad tithers at restaurants. They usually go to church on Sunday. They go to the restaurant. They don't tip their waiter or waitress. So I wrote a scene where a waiter has a conversation. My character is not present at the time, but they go to a restaurant. She walks out of the scene, and he's talking to her sister, and she says, "Do you like her?" And he's like, "Yeah, she leaves little Bible tracts." And she says, "Do you read them?" He's like, "Yeah, she's a pretty good tipper, so I read them. A lot of people just leave me the tracts, like I can pay my bills with that." So the message of that section was, stop just leaving them tracts. That's not going to help them pay their bills. Leave them. You need to leave money. If you're a Christian, you need to do what you need to do with tithe. Like, give some of that tithe money. I tithe to a church, but I also tithe to waiters and waitresses. Like, they need it. So anyway, that's just something. That's an example. So figure out, how do I want to witness to people, and then don't shove it down their throat. Just kind of glance it in there. Like, make it an offhanded comment, and maybe that will reach somebody more than just, you need to be doing this, because maybe sometimes people can't afford it. I don't know.
I've always thought I feel like one of the important things that we have as artists is to be able to kind of show people a different story. Yeah, a different storyline. And I feel like a lot of times when you confront someone one-on-one, that's when, about anything, that's when people kind of get more defensive. Whereas if they sit outside themselves and relate to a character or relate to someone that they see, and then see that person go on a journey, that is more of sort of the mind and the heart changer than anything else.
Yeah. And, and when it comes to our faith, that's basically how it was done. It was done in stories. When it was taught, especially when it's taught to the masses, not necessarily to the inside, but to the masses, it was taught in stories, because there is a powerful component. It's just stories are powerful. It to me, I just see the power not only in faith-based storytelling, but any storytelling. For a child to sit there and put on a cape and run around, not just like desiring to be Superman, but really believing he is Superman. You can't tell that child he's not Superman. He's seen it. He bought into that story, and he becomes that story. And that just tells you the power of influence, our industry has. And in a sense, we have a responsibility. We do, like, whatever we put out there in the world, we have to realize, like, we put that out there, like, and it does have influence. It does have impact, whether we realize it or not.
Yeah. Everything we do builds our reputation. And, Proverbs tells us a good name is rather to be chosen than riches. So it's better to have a good name. So I've always tried to choose material, acting or whatnot, that I wouldn't be embarrassed if my grandmother came to see it, or my pastor, or my mother. And you can still do complicated work, but you don't necessarily have to do dirty stuff. I mean, there's a place for everything. I've always wanted to do, I love the show A Few Good Men. I love it. I think it's got great themes, but that language is hard to overcome with my audience or our audience in our rural area. It would almost have to be where we would start something that would be like the Theatre Downstream After Dark, just to let them know this is more adult content. I still think that story is amazing and needs to be told. Yeah. And I wouldn't mind being in it, but just some of that's hard, and you can't take that language out. It's in the contract. It has to be in there. And it should. That's what the writer wrote. He wanted those words, and he wanted them because they fit the situation.
Yeah. I think that especially, for women in theater, women growing up in theater, it's important to know that risk doesn't always just mean nudity, and risk doesn't always, like, to be risky or to have a risky part or to take a risk on stage doesn't mean you have to be naked, or it doesn't mean you have to use language you're not comfortable with. That's not your only tool bag. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think
or to be considered serious.
Yeah,
right. Because I know, especially in film, a lot of actresses are like, "Oh, well, because now they saw my boobs, I'm serious."
Or
I'm a serious actor if I.
I'm a serious actor if I don't wear makeup.
Yeah, and it's like, well, you could have been clothed without makeup and still been a serious actor.
Yeah,
Meryl Streep. I haven't seen Meryl Streep naked. Just saying, maybe
we can still have these incredibly important and juicy parts that have nothing to do with our looks in any way.
The two largest roles I've ever had, and I was never somebody that went after leading parts just because I never thought I was a leading lady. I think it's really important to know yourself. I am very gangly. I'm tall. I'm thin. I'm built kind of like Carol Burnett, so she was always my comedy icon. And Dick Van Dyke, I was like, okay, those are tall, gangly, long-faced people, and they're funny, and people laugh at them, and they can still be cute and have a good time. So that's it. Those are my people. And I got cast as Shelby in Steel Magnolias. And I thought, oh, no, nice. You want me for Annelle. You don't want me for Shelby. And he's like, no, I want you for Shelby. And the reason it was my, a good friend of mine who was one of the ones that stayed my friend from my very first theater experience. He said, I know I want the seizure to be realistic. And I have a sister who has diabetes, and he was at our house one time, and he saw my sister have a seizure, and he saw my mother, and I didn't really do that much, but he saw my mom and sister interact, and he said, that's what I want you to show the audience how awful these really are. So I did it, and ended up my mother watched it, and she said, I never want you to play this part again. She said, I can stand one child having it. She said, but please don't do this to me again. I ended up actually playing it at our theater, and the girl that played Malin, I kept telling her, I said, it's okay. I want you to manhandle me. I am in control. I know what I'm doing. I know how to build this up. I know how I know what I'm doing. So she was so worried about grabbing me or forcing I said, I want it to run down my face. I have a plastic cape on. We have to make this look real. And the only way we can do that is if you really take my head, put that down, dribble the juice. I'll be all right. It's going to be okay. You can wipe it off. But that is realism.
That's
and
theater.
we can we can do that. And it's